all guests who are gathered here. It is an honor and a privilege to welcome you as South Africa to this very first G20 Leaders Summit to be held on African soil. We gather here at the cradle of humanity in Africa to affirm our common humanity. We gather here to affirm the value of partnership and cooperation, to finding common solutions to shared problems. Shortly before the dawn of democracy in South Africa, the father of our democracy, Nelson Mandela, said, "The time has come for South Africa to take up its rightful and responsible place in the community of nations." Today, as we open this G20 Leaders Summit, South Africa is deeply aware of the profound responsibility that membership of the community of nations places upon us. We also understand the responsibility of being entrusted with the presidency of the G20. In the execution of its task as president of the G20, South Africa has, throughout the past year, through its stewardship of some 130 meetings in various parts of South Africa, in other countries on the African continent, and beyond our shores, including at the United Nations, we have sought to undertake this task with care, with dignity, and with diligence. We have sought at all times to preserve the integrity and the stature of the G20, a premier forum of international economic cooperation. From its initial focus on broad macroeconomic issues, the G20 is now engaged on matters such as trade, sustainable development, health, education, science and technology, agriculture, energy, the environment, climate change, and many others. It has therefore broadened its scope as the challenges of the peoples of the world requires that they should be addressed. As the G20 countries, we understand that progress on each and all of these issues is a necessary condition for strong, sustainable, balanced, and inclusive growth. In pursuit of and in conformity with the founding mission of the G20, South Africa adopted the theme Solidarity, Equality, and Sustainability for its presidency in 2025. Through solidarity, we can create an inclusive future that advances the interests of people around the world who are at the greatest risk of being left behind. This is important in an interconnected world where the challenge faced by one nation affects all other nations. By promoting equality, we strive to ensure fair treatment and equal opportunities for the individuals and nations of the world. The disparities in wealth and development within and between nations is not only unjust and unsustainable, it is also one of the greatest impediments to sustainable development. It is essential that we break down divisions of economic status, of gender, of race, and geography. Sustainability involves meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. As a founding member of the G20, South Africa has sought to ensure that the development priorities of the Global South and the African continent find expression firmly and permanently on the agenda of the G20. This is important not only for the people of Africa and the Global South. It is vital for global stability and security, alleviating resource pressures, managing population movements, and reducing the risk of conflict. We seek stability because it attracts investment, it improves planning and reduces the risk of global economic shocks. And we prioritize inclusive and vibrant markets because they are able to drive innovation and efficiency. Thriving economies lift people out of poverty. They encourage greater investment and trade, and they generate the revenue needed to invest in public goods. The threats facing humanity today, from escalating geopolitical tensions, global warming, pandemics, energy and food insecurity, to inequality, unemployment, extreme poverty, and armed conflict, jeopardize our collective future. It is therefore essential that we make greater and faster progress towards the achievement of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. We welcome the Seville Commitment adopted in June this year, which sets forth a renewed global framework for financing for development. We must use this framework to catalyze development investments at scale in developing economy countries. We must continue the reform of the international financial architecture, ensuring that institutions are strengthened and are more inclusive and are equipped to meet the challenges both of the present and the future. At the beginning of our G20 presidency, we identified 4 high-level priorities. Firstly, we focus on action to strengthen disaster resilience and response. While climate-induced natural disasters affect countries around the world, they have a particularly devastating impact on countries that cannot afford the costs of recovery and rebuilding. We have agreed that it is essential for the global community, international finance institutions, development banks, and the private sector to scale up post-disaster construction. Secondly, we agreed that we must take action to ensure debt sustainability for low-income countries. The G20 needs to renew its efforts to advance debt sustainability while at the same time laying emphasis on those countries in the Global South that are suffering from debt repayments. Thirdly, we said we should mobilize finance for a just energy transition, increasing the quality and quantity of climate finance flows to developing economy countries. Fourthly, we emphasized the importance of harnessing critical minerals for inclusive growth and sustainable development through the beneficiation of the minerals at the place of extraction. In addition to these 4 priorities, we have prioritized issues of inclusive economic growth, industrialization, inequality, unemployment, and security and artificial intelligence. Much of the work of the past year will be presented and considered at this meeting. We commend in particular the G20 at 20 review, which provides a detailed account of the path that this organization has traversed as the G20. It describes both our achievements and our challenges and makes proposals on how we can organize ourselves to be more focused on our core mandate. We welcome the work of the G20 Africa Expert Panel, which was led by South Africa's former Minister of Finance, Mr. Trevor Manuel. The panel argues that African efforts to accelerate productive investments require new global partnerships and strong multilateral cooperation. It calls on the G20 to support this effort by building a global policy framework that unlocks long-term finance and lower costs and investment at scale. We are also grateful for the work of the G20 Extraordinary Committee of Independent Experts on Global Inequality that was led by Professor Joseph Stiglitz, a Nobel laureate. The recommendations of the Extraordinary Committee provide a solid platform on which to launch a renewed global effort to tackle inequality. As this is the first G20 Leaders Summit to be held in Africa, it carries the hopes and must reflect the aspirations of the people of this continent and of the world. We should not allow anything to diminish the value, the stature, and the impact of the first African G20 presidency. This G20 Leaders Summit has a responsibility not to allow the integrity and the credibility of the G20 to be weakened. In fact, from this summit, we should have a sense that the G20 has been strengthened. We thank all delegations that have worked together with us in good faith to produce a worthy G20 outcome document for this historic leaders' meeting. The G20 underscores the value of the relevance of multilateralism. It recognizes that the challenges that we face can only be resolved through cooperation, collaboration, and partnership. The adoption of the declaration from the summit sends an important signal to the world that multilateralism can and does deliver. It sends a message of hope and solidarity across the world. It tells the world that as the leaders of the G20, we will keep fast to our solemn pledge to leave no person, no community, and no country behind. With those words, I therefore declare the G20 Leaders Summit open, and thank you. I now want to move on to His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Finland, Alexander Stubb.
Thank you very much, Cyril, and thank you for the invitation. You know that Finns are famous for two things. One, they speak very shortly, and two, they love rules. And I hope I will stick to both. It's a great privilege to be here for the first time representing Finland. We've never been at a G20 meeting before, and we really appreciate the invitation. Jonas Störe and I both come from Nordic countries, and we once calculated that the Nordics would be G10. So perhaps I'll speak in that spirit. Cyril, for me, this meeting is very much a symbol of multilateralism. And what you are trying to do here is to bring a group of key countries together that have both demography and economy on their side. And you are doing it at a time when there clearly is a change in the world order, where I believe personally that the nexus of power is moving eastbound and southbound. And now I think all of us pretty much have a choice. And the choice is between multilateralism, which you are representing, and multipolarity. And these two things are very different. For me, multilateralism is about cooperation, it's about rules, it's about norms, and it's about institutions. I like these rules because they are the ones that bring exactly the thing that you have up there on the board: solidarity, equality and sustainability. My big worry right now is that the world is moving more in a multipolar direction. And multipolarity, though it gives power to nation states as such, is problematic because it's more transactional, it's more about deals, and therefore it's more prone to conflict. There have been many excellent interventions here today about rules on trade, rules on the way in which we engage with each other. My biggest worry right now is that we are not seeing enough multilateralism in three key conflicts that have been raging around the world. One, Russia's war of aggression in Ukraine. Two, the situation in Gaza. And three, the situation in Sudan. So I hope that we lean towards multilateralism. And let me say, coming from a small country, what I believe the West should do in this. I think the West should understand that the multilateral institutions that were created after World War II and that were upheld after the Cold War, the power structure of them is right now unfair. It needs to be changed. We need to distribute power in a world that exists today, not the world that existed in 1945. That is the best way for us to drive multilateralism and get it back on track. Thank you very much. 3 minutes and 12 seconds.
Thank you very much, President Stubb. You were just so precise, Alexandra. That's the Nordic spirit, I take it. We now go back to I now have the opportunity to call upon the Vice President of the Republic of Indonesia, His Excellency, Mr. Gibrian Rakabamung Raka, to take the floor.
Your Excellency, President Ramaphosa, Excellencies, leaders of G20 countries, let me begin by conveying warm greetings from President Prabowo to President Ramaphosa. Also deep appreciation to the government of South Africa for the warm hospitality and excellent arrangement. We commend South Africa's leadership in steering the G20 through a challenging year. This is a historic G20 summit, the first being held on African soil. This milestone marks a profound shift where the Global South is no longer a bystander, but a co-driver of Global South. Excellencies, Indonesia believes that global growth must not only be strong, but also fair and inclusive to uplift each and every nation. Indonesia welcomes the G20's focus on sustainable finance, yet ambition must go further to close gaps and to pursue adaptation, mitigation, and transition that is just and fair. The world needs financing that is more accessible, predictable, and equal, especially for developing nations, through debt relief, innovative financing, blended finance, and green transition mechanism. Indonesia allocates more than half of our national climate budget, around $2.5 billion annually to support green MSMEs, agricultural insurance, and climate resilient infrastructure. Indonesia also promotes financial inclusion. Our national CRIS digital payment system demonstrates how a simple and a low-cost digital solution can push participation in the economy and minimize inequality. Emerging technologies such as crypto asset, digital tokens, including Bitcoin, may create both opportunities and risks. Therefore, Indonesia proposes that the G20 initiate dialogue on intelligence economy. Indonesia believes that every country is entitled to chart its own development path because there is no single model that fits all. There is no such thing called the best method. Cooperation must empower, not dictate. Cooperation must uplift, not create dependency. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice President. I now would like to call upon the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade and Worship of Argentina, Ms. Pablo Quirno Magrain. Oh, Mr. Thank you. Is it switching on? No? Looks like somebody wants to silence you.
There we go. Sorry. Thank you, Chair. I would like to express our gratitude to the government of South Africa and President Ramaphosa for the generous hospitality extended to us by your country during this year. Your presidency has invited us to reflect through the lenses of solidarity, equality, and sustainability. Allow me to outline our perspective on these pillars. We believe that the principles of solidarity, equality, and sustainability can only be achieved with an international system grounded in freedom, clear rules, and responsible economic governance. Economic growth remains the foundation for job creation, investment, and resilience in our economies. Such growth depends on policies that promote stability, innovation, and private sector development within a predictable framework grounded in the rule of law and a market-based economy, as highlighted in the G20's foundational declarations. Argentina has learned firsthand that long-term growth is only possible when supported by sound public finances. Fiscal imbalances contribute to inflationary pressures, limit investment, and erode economic confidence. Addressing these imbalances through responsible fiscal management and expenditure control is critical. In this context, solidarity can only be effective when growth rests on a stable macroeconomic environment, a legal order that protects private property, and clear rules that expand opportunities for private sector development and all individuals in our society. Associated with this is equality of opportunity, which is both achievable and desirable when grounded in the principle of equality under the law. Achieving this requires structural reforms that foster solid institutional and regulatory frameworks, laying the groundwork for markets to function efficiently, attract investments, encourage job creation, and boost productivity. Equally important is creating opportunities through education, which serves as a powerful equalizing tool and equips individuals with the skills needed to fully benefit from these economic reforms. Technology is a strong ally in this effort. We must maximize the opportunities it provides while mitigating its risks. This includes fostering digital transformation and ensuring that job creation aligns with the needs of the future economy based on the upskilling and reskilling of labor. It is therefore necessary to design policies that facilitate investment by establishing conditions for the development of a market policy, vocational training, and education for work that facilitates growth, the creation of wealth, and quality jobs, accompanied by labor flexibility policies. Development policies must be directed toward creating an environment that encourages private investment by reducing risks and taxes, protecting individual property rights, ensuring predictability, and enabling all people to pursue the success of their ventures based on merit, effort, vision, and innovation. When the foundations of growth are respected, solidarity and equality of opportunity become achievable and sustainable over time. Distinguished Chair, esteemed leaders, finally, I wish to draw to your attention to the draft document circulated yesterday. As we all recognize, this G20 represents an important opportunity to demonstrate our collective commitment to the development of the African continent and its people. Argentina has sought to contribute meaningfully and constructively to the consensus-building process. We have shared the red lines we identified in this context, aiming to support the G20's broader goals. Those red lines remain until this time. We all know that the G20 is a premier global forum for coordinating economic actions. Its core principle is consensus, which reflects the reality that all of us must work together to accomplish our shared objectives, ensuring financial stability, fostering economic growth, and strengthening collective development. For Argentina, it is crucial to preserve the integrity of this process by acknowledging when consensus has not been achieved, rather than proceeding with a document that does not accurately reflect our collective will. Moreover, we're deeply concerned with how certain geopolitical issues are framed in the document. Specifically, it addresses the long-standing Middle East conflict in a manner that fails to capture its full complexity. By focusing on a single dimension of a specific territory, it overlooks the broader regional context, the international recognition of different entities, and the structural causes of the dispute. In this regard, I wish to recall the recent adoption of UN Security Council Resolution 2803 on November 17th, which emphasizes the international community's support for a just and lasting peace in the Middle East, while calling for a comprehensive, fair process to address all aspects of the conflict. In closing, Argentina, although cannot endorse the declaration based on the aforementioned discrepancies, remains fully committed to the spirit of cooperation that has defined the G20 since its inception. We're convinced that only through genuine dialogue, respect for consensus, and adherence to the principles of the United Nations Charter and international law can this forum continue to keep working constructively with all members and partners, with a shared aim on strengthening global stability, promoting sustained growth, and advancing development in a manner that is inclusive, balanced, and respectful of our diversity. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Minister. We note with deep respect the views expressed by Argentina. We will recall that in our last G20 Summit in Brazil, Argentina was given the opportunity, following the various discussions that led to the consensus and agreement on the declaration. It was given the opportunity to voice its misgivings about certain parts of the declaration as it was adopted. And similarly, we have given Argentina the same opportunity, that they should, in their presentation, be able to raise issues that they are concerned about. We should take courage in knowing that that does not, in the end, mean that the declaration is nullified or rejected. It is a declaration that has been adopted by all of us here present. And so we want to thank Argentina for expressing the views that they have expressed, and many of the views are really views that are common or commonly held by many in terms of the adherence to rule of law and supporting the resolutions of the United Nations. So we thank you, Minister, for putting Argentina's position forward, and we will, with great respect, move ahead with a declared, with the accepted declaration as the G20. Thank you very much. We then move on and ask His Excellency I now call upon His Excellency, Dr. Abiy Ahmed Ali, the Prime Minister of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia.
Your Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, Your Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, distinguished delegates, let me begin by extending my appreciation to President Cyril Ramaphosa for his extraordinary leadership. I also would like to acknowledge Johannesburg, a city of opportunity and progress. Excellencies, it is with humility and hope that I address you on African soil at this historic G20 Summit. Humility because Ethiopia's journey is still unfolding. Hope because our story, like that of many nations here, shows that transformation is possible even in difficult circumstances. Ethiopia is a land of ancient civilization, defined by resilience and prospects still being written. Our homeland has sheltered faiths. Our people have built lasting societies. From this legacy comes Maddamar, a philosophy of unity in diversity, of synergetic collaboration that multiplies potential and of progress shared by all. Guided by this spirit, Ethiopia is moving toward inclusive growth. Our cities are becoming hubs of innovation. Industrial parks reshape economies. Farmers use tools their parents could never imagine. Young entrepreneurs and building businesses that were impossible to dream of a generation ago. For too long, countries like ours have been labeled fragile or poor. Yet our story is a quiet revolution of bold actions rewriting what is possible. Because growth is the achievement of people who refuse to be left behind. In Ethiopia, we have learned that inclusivity is not charity, it is efficiency. When every farmer, entrepreneur, and innovator shares in progress, the economy becomes self-sustaining. Our journey has been tested by drought, conflict, and global shocks. Yet from those tests emerges transformative renewal. We are investing in renewable energy that powers both homes and hope, digital infrastructures that connect citizens, and green agriculture turning smallholder farmers into climate champions. Excellencies, we're not here to speak of despair. We're here to speak of possibility and of shared responsibility. In that spirit, let me highlight three priorities. First, debt. Ethiopia has engaged actively with the G20 Common Framework to unlock resources. Debt relief must translate into investments that empower people and secure the future, including educated children, modern hospitals, and resilient infrastructure. Second, climate. Through our Green Legacy Initiative, Ethiopians have planted over 48 billion seedlings, restoring soils, watersheds, and hope ecological restoration must become the new global investment landscapes, supported by debt for climate swaps and green value chains that reward nature and communities. Third, energy and digital transformation. The Grand Ethiopia Renaissance Dam symbolizes Africa's renewable ambition. We are expanding into solar, wind, geothermal, and nuclear power, and we envision an Africa energy network that drives industrialization while achieving net zero emissions. Through Digital Ethiopia, we have liberalized telecom, expanded broadband, and advanced digital finance. By 2030, we aim to complete our national digital public infrastructure, integrating IDs, payments, and data platforms to serve citizens. For Ethiopia, artificial intelligence is a tool for inclusion, helping predict droughts, diagnose diseases, and support local language, ensuring technology works for all. Excellencies, Ethiopia's journey mirrors that of many emerging economies. Our success offers lessons, our challenges offer insights. Inclusivity and sustainable growth is both a practical and a moral imperative for our continent. It requires humility to reconsider what we treasure and courage to redefine what we value. I propose that the G20 adopt a new lens, measures resilience as growth. Let us count not only GDP, but the capacity of societies to withstand and adapt, because that ultimately is what sustains development. Ethiopia stands ready, rooted in Medemar, to contribute to this shared global journey. I thank you.